Uncaviling is one of the words that Krishna used to describe Arjuna. What is uncaviling? One who no longer wavers, one who no longer doubts. At this point, it's identifying the stage, the transition of this chapter that we have to be able to come to terms with in order to progress further. Now, this is not just to come to the chapter 6, or it occurs into coming to chapter 12, it comes to chapter 15, it comes to the manifestation. Doubt, like dejection, is a constant companion. As we undo the layers and layers and layers of the inherited samskaric patterns that we were born into. And then those that we take on from the collective consciousness as we progress on the spiritual path. But at this point, it's really the individual personal investment in its separate self that is still rearing up and saying, I want what I want when I want it, and this ain't it. That self-centered demand or assistance or repulsion or rejection that is tied, has its root into the next layer of truth that you have yet to reveal, that's buried in the untruth of your conditioning. If you're not able to pass through this ordeal, then Krishna says, verse 202, one who lacks the capacity of discrimination, is devoid of faith, and is assailed by doubts, is destined to be doomed in this path. For the doubting soul, there is no hope nor happiness in this world, nor in the world beyond. Now, this is because the person's acting on their doubt. The way we make doubt so powerful that it can destroy our ability to make progress is we take actions based on the doubt. We make doubt our practice. Our doubt becomes our justification. Our doubt becomes the means by which we take the step back into our old way of being and slip back into this obscuring patterns through our actions, which are now, by the way, more effective and more powerful. And therefore, we're taking a little issue, acting on it, we make it a much bigger issue than it would have been if we took the action from our ignorance. So the doubt starts feeding on itself, and to the point that all we're left with is our resentment, our justifications and rationalizations and explanations, and our story. And we write books about these, and we use these to make sure people protect themselves from being tricked or fooled or deceived. And we then perpetuate by giving power to it, this principle of doubt, which in itself is simply a temporary clouding, simply a temporary phase which could be moved through with proper self-examination in a half an hour. Yet we can defeat a whole life of seeking if we're not able to tap into the root of us that does not want to progress further, that's still vested in its own personal self-serving life, still wants something for itself, still has an unmet need that it wants to be fulfilled. These are the source of these doubts. But they don't have their basis in truth. If you're experiencing doubt, if you're experiencing complaint or dissatisfaction, be assured the ego is showing its head. The ego is revealing itself. Anything negative is often an indication of this. I'm trying to find the word for what that is. The specter of doubt. This dark cloud of doubt. No, you don't want to do this. No, you don't want to go further. Oh, you've done enough. Oh, you don't need to go further. Oh, isn't he beautiful? Isn't she beautiful? Oh, I could look at those people. They may have better than I have. It's the specter. It whispers into your ear. It tells you, warns you, seduces you into that piece of you that you have not yet been able to come to responsibility, calling you to the rocks, back to the shore of your own dejection. There's something in every human being that wants to destroy itself. And this could be that could be just this act of self-destruction. Okay, now it's really good. Now I can't tolerate, ego can't tolerate it when it's really good. Can't tolerate it when it's almost there. It can't tolerate it when it's made significant process. It just wants to throw a wrench into the works, right? That part of you that loves to throw a wrench into the work is a specter. It's a bad news creature. It is not something you want to listen to or act on. And it's of your own creation. You can't blame any subtle plane being or any teacher or any circumstance or other person. It's your shit. And if you haven't caught on that it's your shit and it's been your shit all along, then you're right. You're not going to make it past out. And you're not going to find happiness. You're going to go back to the old way. You'll forget the consciousness you had before will fade away, and you'll be back into your old consciousness, imagine thinking of that as a dream. But the reality is my miserable self that I'm used to. This is the real person, the one who complains and nothing works and who isn't doing right, never gets what they want, and so on. So whatever that story may be. And then you're back home, familiar territory, the bottom of the barrel, home of your own misery. So this is one of the challenges. This is one of the great tests. There are other tests like power that come further. But doubt is the first, you're now in end of the fourth chapter. You're coming to a true shift in consciousness. You're about to go into the point of no return. You're literally about to become something that's not human. And you don't think your ego is going to kick and scream? You think you're on to say, hey, wait a second, that means I'm never coming back? Wait a second. Nobody said that in the contract. It is when you're beginning to recognize that what it means to go to the Supreme Being is to take you out of the boundary of what you know of yourself, and in such a dramatic and at this point lived way, that your ego could just say, hey, no way. I don't know how to do that. I wouldn't know how to do that. I can't trust I could do that, or anybody would help me in doing that. This is when doubt comes up. Therefore, okay, a couple things he says. Arjuna, actions do not bind him who has renounced action to yoga, whose doubts are destroyed by knowledge, and is established in the self. So the establishment of the self hasn't happened in the fourth chapter. It means that, in fact, that whatever is the transition, if it's self or God or truth, you're not yet established, but it's happening. It's coming. The next stage is coming. Not yet established. So it's not possible for you to be able to make it through the sleep on your own usually. There has to be usually a grace. There has to be a grace that comes that you've earned through previous actions, sincerity, and commitment. There has to be a grace of a life lived, aligned with what this yoga is about. It is grace that comes from lives lived. It's not something you can accomplish the first time, right? Mankind was shooting rockets trying to get rockets into space forever, right? You get up 300 feet, they thought that was good. 3,000 feet, wow. 300 feet is unimaginable. And that's what we need, 360 feet, I think it is, to be in your own orbit. So this is always an efforting that throws us back into dejection. And the only difference is that when we land back, inevitably you'll end up into dejection, not just ignorance. See, in ignorance, you don't know you're in the ocean of samskara. In ignorance, ignorance is truth. In ignorance, it is how good the food is, and am I getting laid, and is they telling me the things I want to hear, and what's wrong with the world is, of course, everybody else, and, I'm not to blame, and I'm underappreciated, and I don't make enough money, and that son of a bitch is in charge of making my life miserable. It's that whole suffering, not knowing it's suffering. That's ignorance. Dejection, you know you're suffering. Dejection, you know you're in ignorance. So I assure you that if in your leap of your life, or your leap in your life currently goes to doubt, you won't go all the way to the bottom. You'll go to the aware I am at the bottom. That's much worse. So the nature of dejection is it will become so miserable that you will not be able to stay there long. And you will come out once again, and you'll make another leap for that which has been beyond yourself. Now, how often you do that? Lifetimes. I meet people all the time who have lived lives in dejection, crawling up a little bit, falling back down, crawling up a little bit, falling back down. So breaking out of that at this stage is the critical point. This marks the divining line between you and the next stage of what's possible in your journey towards the Supreme. His final guidance, verse 204. Therefore, cut with your sword of knowledge the doubt that is caused by ignorance that abides in your heart, the remaining ignorance that abides in your heart. Because at this stage, it's embedded in the body. At this stage, it's embedded in your relationship with existence. It's not just ideation. You might quiet mind, and this still can come up. You could be able to reach states of silence, and this can still come up because there's something hidden in the body, something hidden in the emotional vital structure of you that is still wanting its time on the stage, still wanting to be seen. So you cut it. You reject it. You don't believe the doubt. You don't take action on the doubt. You don't speak the doubt. You don't write the doubt. You don't feed it in any of the ways you can act. And you will transition through the doubt the most quickly and efficiently way that you could. And of course, there is the caveat. If you have a handy enlightened being, if you got somebody who's made the transition, because then that what will do for you is carry you even when you can't carry yourself. It'll be the grace that slips in, and even though you're taking all the wrong actions, not fall back into the error of the old self somewhat. And so you're beginning to doubt your own knowing. But absolutely, I assure you, the new humanity is here. And that what we're here is in its adventing. And if you were able to stay in the consciousness that you normally is accessible to you, you would know that this is simply the holding of a process that will take time. But the seed of this, I can tell you, it's irrecoverable. The shift cannot be stopped because it's not human beings that are determining it. We're just either collaborating or not, putting our head in the sand and pretending it's not happening. It is the will of the Supreme. It's the will of the incarnation, of which it's finding its articulate expression in me, but it's finding its expression in you too. That you are actually seeing exactly as I see. You're experiencing and knowing exactly as I experience and know. So doubt only comes when our capacity to see truth gets veiled through the season, through the guna cycle, through the people you're getting attached to. Attachment is a great thing that keeps us hooked in samskara, probably the greatest of all of them. Attached to a person, attached to a past experience, attached to a place or an idea, attached to a belief, attached. This is the poison that keeps repeating and bringing you back into samskara. So attachment is more than just affection or a romantic kind of thing. It is a cord that sucks our attention into the content rather than to remain in the purity. It takes the essence of our attention and converts it into samskara, thinking that is the way it should be. And that's unfortunate that it's also true that humanity cannot proceed without attachment. It cannot proceed without memory. It cannot proceed without this ability to have a relationship that gives you a structure in existence. So therefore, we have to include these things, but not be these things. And that actually comes with another question that's coming. So I'll go down that one more fully. So give yourself over to serve the manifestation of a possibility that's already here is a sure game. It's going to work, and you are simply becoming a collaborator in its unfolding by doing the sacrifice, even though you may doubt, even though you may get overtaken, even though you question your ability to do it. It makes no difference. Those don't make any difference because at the essence of you, you are that actualizing force that's chosen to be in the world at this time. In fact, it's already here. So everything that's arising is the suppressed structures of collective humanity that need to be shown in order for this to establish itself. It's part of the adventing, right? What's the advent for the seed? It's the shoot, somehow knowing to push upward through the dirt and the mud and the rocks and pebbles to come into the sun. So it's the push that's required to take the potential that's there into the seed, into the domain of adventing, of actualization, of making it real in this dimension as something that's accessible to you each day, something that's real in every little thing that you do. That's freedom. A life without samskara is a life of freedom, but it's not freedom to do what I want. It's a freedom to surrender into the being of service to the possibility that's there and now emerging in humanity. So there you go. You were right in the first place, so don't question.